Serialization with pickle. In this lecture, we'll talk about serialization, the pickle module, we'll talk about dump, dumps, load and loads, and we'll talk about exceptions and the classes in pickle. Let's begin. Serialization is the act of converting structured data into such a format from which we can share it or store it in a form that allows recovery in the original structure. This can also help minimize the size of the data. In Python, we have the pickle module for this. It helps implement binary protocols for serializing and deserializing Python objects. We'll observe two concepts, pickling and unpickling. We'll convert object hierarchies into byte streams and byte streams into object hierarchies. Let's learn more about pickle. This module has binary protocols for serializing and deserializing an object structure. We talked about pickling and unpickling. Pickling is converting an object hierarchy into a byte stream. This is also called serialization, marshalling, or flattening, and unpickling is its inverse. We have other modules like marshal and JSON, but let's talk about pickle. It keeps track of objects already serialized to avoid serializing again. Marshal does not serialize user-defined classes and objects. Its serialization format is backwards compatible. It works across different versions of Python. And while JSON is a text serialization format, pickle is a binary serialization format. It is not human readable, unlike JSON. Also, JSON is universal, but pickle is Python specific. Pickle has four important functions: dump, dumps, load, and loads. It also has two constants, highest protocol and default protocol. Protocol version 0 is the original human readable protocol. Version 1 is old and in the binary format. Version 2 provides more efficient pickling of new style classes. Version 3 supports bytes objects. And version 4 supports very large objects. Let's first talk about the dump function. This writes a pickled representation of an object to the open file object file. X is 7. Import OS and get to documents. Now open the file abcde.txt in read and binary mode and dump the value of X to this file. Close the file. These are the contents now. You can see that this isn't readable. Dumps returns the pickled representation of obj as a bytes object. It does not write to a file. This is what it dumps. The load function reads a pickled representation from a file and returns the reconstructed object hierarchy from it. Let's open F again and load from it. This loads the value 7. And loads reads a pickled object and reconstructs the original object hierarchy from it. Let's get to the beginning of the file again. Now reading the file F loads this value. This module also raises some exceptions on certain conditions. For this, pickle error is the parent class. Pickling error is when we have an unpickable object. An unpickling error is when it cannot unpickle an object. Other than these, we may also run into some exceptions like end of file error, type error, value error, and more. The pickle module has the pickler and unpickler classes. We can pickle and unpickle anything from booleans, integers, floats, complexes, strings, bytes, tuples, lists, sets, dictionaries, functions using def, and classes at a module's top level. And this is how we serialize and deserialize objects with Python.